You're watching Goddess Kring, Shannon Kringen, Goddess.
We're scapegoats.
I like to say, intimacy chasing me, feel like it's erasing me. Traveling unravels the insights. Authentic ejaculation of my soul, molten orange liquid glow. In other words, I'm trying to be my real self, and when I say intimacy chasing me, feel like it's erasing me, it's kind of a funny rhyme that I made up one day, but it's profound because the way I grew up, I felt kind of a little bit ignored sometimes, but then again I had a lot of freedom, a lot of creative freedom to do my own thing. And then I felt a little bit smothered by my family members because I felt like they both had very strong opinions and were both kind of really artistic and liberal and creative, and yet had a lot of strong opinions and were critical at the same time. So I felt kind of trapped, like there was dogma, creative, unusual dogma, from my family. Liberal, not conservative, but conservative in terms of dogma, like strong opinions about art and creativity and what's good and what's bad. And one person in my family would say that people that were successful were overrated or underrated. And then another person in my family would say that people are too self-indulgent or on a power trip, on an ego trip. And so I grew up kind of feeling like I better not be like one of these people on a power trip. If I want to please people in my family, I don't want to be too successful, or I don't want to be egotistical or on a power trip or overrated or underrated. Just, too many thoughts in my head analyzing what's good, what's bad, all this kind of stuff. Even though I was encouraged by my family to do art and creativity and follow my passion and follow my dreams, at the same time I felt like there was too many opinions and too many critical opinions, and I learned as a young age to analyze and judge myself and others. And it's good to be able to do critical thinking and analyzing, but I did so much of that, and I still do to some extent, that it kind of blocks my creativity. So I'm just figuring that out. Yeah. So intimacy chasing me, feel like it's erasing me, meaning when I try to get close to someone, I think I forget who I really am because I want to be who they think. Like I want to try to please the other person, like who do they want me to be? And what I really need to do is just be true to myself, and then let the chips fall where they may. Like let people accept me or not, but be my real self. And I think I'm afraid if I'm my real self that nobody will want me. Nobody will want to be with me or be my friend or be my lover or whatever. So I am working in therapy to try to develop a stronger sense of self and make better choices in my relationships, my friendships, my romantic life, my job life, spiritual, every level. Heart, mind, body, and soul. So there it is. In a Kringen nutshell. And so I also wanted to say too that I'm working every week. I see this one therapist lady, and she's really, really amazing. She's I don't know what she calls herself, but I think of herself as sort of shamanistic and holistic and intuitive, and she recommended a book to me called How to Be an Adult, which is kind of a silly title, but I'm reading The Four Agreements, which is an amazing book, and then How to Be an Adult, because I want to learn in a relationship, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship, I want to learn how to have healthier boundaries. Like I want to learn how to be my true self and to stand up for myself and my boundaries and treat the other person, the man that I'm dating, with respect, mutual respect and understanding and empathy and compassion, and try to have he and I both get our needs met, but I tended to be all or nothing. Like I tend to feel like I'm a little kid and I want to be rescued by some guy in a relationship, or I feel like I'm supposed to be really self-sufficient and not need much of anything from the guy, except sex, or just some basic, boyfriend-girlfriend type things, but don't need too much, because as a kid I kind of grew up feeling like I was too much for my parents to handle, and they were overwhelmed. I don't know if that's really true, but as a little kid I felt like I should suppress my needs to get out of my parents' way, because they needed to grow up, and so I better not be a nuisance. So I think my self-esteem just wasn't very high a lot of the time, even though both my parents encouraged me in a lot of ways. They were critical in their own different ways, and I'm an only child, so I had no brothers or sisters that I could confide in about what it was like being raised the way I was raised. So I was kind of alone doing my own thing and had to just kind of figure it out myself, because I know all little kids, to adapt to whatever the problems are in their family, they just make something up. So I just kind of made up a philosophy like, oh, okay, if I'm quiet and polite and I'm not in anybody's way and I'm a good little kid, then my parents will be happier and they'll love me more. So I think I learned to suppress myself to some extent. Even though both my parents encouraged me to do creativity and stuff, and they said really nice things to me, and they weren't like really mean or anything, but they were kind of, both of them were distracted and focused on pursuing try to get their love lives to work, because they divorced when I was 4. And so I grew up with parents who were trying to figure out their careers and their romantic lives separately. And so I went back and forth between the two parents. And I was never really the center of attention, pretension of invention, so whatever. So I think part of the reason why I'm obsessed with taking photographs of myself is, aside from maybe it's a little narcissism, I don't know, but they say what narcissism really is, though, is if you feel a fragile sense of self. I like to say fragile sense of self, intangible desire for wealth, meaning if you have a fragile sense of self, you want to prove to yourself and others that you are powerful and you are strong and you are amazing and you matter in the world and you exist. And as a little kid, I kind of felt a little bit invisible and like, do I really matter? I'm not sure. I didn't get enough feedback maybe in a certain way and enough mirroring back from my parents. And so now my own kind of self-therapy is to take a lot of beautiful photographs of myself and sort of, I'm fascinated by it, and I use myself as a canvas, and then I see all the different facets of myself and how I can capture them with photography. So that's kind of what I'm doing, and so I'm trying to build a sense of self and dealing with my boundary issues and like how I can feel really strong and powerful and also relate with another person in a friendship or romantic relationship in a healthy, balanced way that honors their beauty and power as well as my beauty and power. Because I kind of feel like to really do what I want, I have to be alone. I kind of feel like nobody really fully supports me. Like I feel like people don't really want me to succeed. Like I feel like people are critical. So if I really want to be free in my total true self, I have to be alone. And that's sad. I would like to learn how to be my full true self. Relationships very challenging because I have boundary issues. And actually my last therapy session, it was kind of cool. We had, my therapist had me, I was describing that some people in my family have some passive-aggressive tendencies, and so like instead of directly expressing anger or saying what we really want and need, I had modeled to me a passive-aggressive way of doing things, which is you kind of deny your own needs and then you overcompensate later. And it's hard to explain, but basically she had me, my therapist knows that I'm a very visceral person and kind of a physical person, riding my bike all the time, and I'm very physical, and I learn well with sound. I'm very auditory and musical, and I learn through doing and being physical and doing physical like actions and being a figure model is very physical, and I memorize like where I am and the position I'm in. So we had this thing where we mapped out with scarves. I chose the colors that represented. See, that's what my therapist is into. Is she's into metaphor, and like mostly we just sit and talk and share back and forth, and then she helps me. She mirrors back to me what she sees about myself, and she makes suggestions, or I tell her what I want, and then she supports me in going after my dreams and goals and accepting my fears. And I'm like really honest with her about all my mistakes in life and on my dark side, and she's a nice safe person that I can, confess all my sins to, or whatever you want to say. But we did this thing where we sit and talk, and I cry or I share whatever emotions I have, and we work through stuff. But she also she has props in her room, and really great books too that I can borrow, but she has props in her room, and she has tea. We sit and drink tea together. And she kind of lets me hang out in her office. If she doesn't have appointments after she sees me, I can hang out there and write in my journal and drink tea. So she's a very nurturing person. It's great. She's a really great healer, and she bends the rules in terms of most therapists just do 50 minutes and they're like, well, time's up. And she doesn't do that. If she has time, she lets it go on for a full hour, sometimes even 70 minutes, if there's time. She's a little bit flexible with her time with me, which I really appreciate. And so she's more of an organic, intuitive, natural kind of person. I really love that about her. So I've been seeing her off and on for 7 years. So, because I saw her for a few years, and then I stopped for like 3 years or something, and now I started seeing her again. So I'm really glad. But okay, so what we did was we did scarves on the floor, and we did, I chose how I feel when I'm passive. I mapped out my passive side, my aggressive side, and my neutral, balanced middle way, my more spiritual self, Siddhartha kind of a thing. Like black, white, and gray. The middle way, gray. So I mapped it out. I chose red scarves for my aggressive side, which is like overly, maybe that's the part of me that's overly selfish, overly kind of like a 2-year-old kid throwing a tantrum. It's mine, that doesn't want to share their toys, and it's like me, it's all about me. And it's the part of me that is just self-centered and just wants what I want, and then is overly unconcerned with how I affect other people. And the selfish part of, the very selfish part of me that's like, screw it. Because what leads to that aggressive part is the passive part. It starts with the passive part. So I mapped out the passive part, which was no color, or just black, just a lack of, just nothingness. Basically probably just no color at all, because I love color, even black. I like black, white, the entire rainbow, brown, gray. I love a little bit of every color, although green is my favorite. But for this passive side of me, I chose no color, nothing, no props, nothing, just empty nothingness. And I slumped down, and I closed my eyes, and I tiptoed very quietly, because I don't want to make any noise. I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to get in anybody's way. So I just tiptoed and was very quiet, and she had me, and she mimicked me. She stood with me, and she's like, okay, I'm going to copy what you do. And so we both stood there, and we crouched down and tiptoed, and she just wanted me to be in touch with how it feels. And what it felt like in my body was, I felt my stomach hurt, and I felt a pain and a sadness, and I almost wanted to cry right then and there. I felt sad, I felt lonely, I felt like nobody loves me, I don't even love myself, I felt like I shouldn't even be alive, I should just erase myself. It's this really sad part of me that represses myself, that avoids, which is different than the part of me that wants to be alone and have solitude. That's a nurturing thing. But when I totally repress myself, it's a sad, icky feeling, and I felt really heavy in my stomach, which is my personal power area of your chakra system in your body. And so that's how it felt, the no color passive part. And then the aggressive part was like, screw that. Screw repressing myself and screw thinking that I don't matter. I matter more than anybody. And so that's the part of me, maybe the egomaniac in me, that wants to compensate for feeling passive and be really aggressive. And, the part of me that has a bad temper, the part of me that doesn't really, instead of trying to resolve conflict with another person, I'm just like, forget it, and I panic, or I just get really negative and angry, and then I'm just like, I'm just going to do my own thing. And it's another way. It's actually, though, that's true. I isolate with that too. I isolate when I'm really passive. I isolate. And then when I'm really aggressive, I isolate too, because I feel angry, and nobody wants to be around an angry person. So I guess I push people away with my aggressive side, with my grumpy, aggressive side. And so her and I acted that out. I got up and we acted it out. Like I had a bunch of red scarves, and it was like a lava, like hot, melty lava. And it was like I felt like a dragon. And so her and I yelled, and we went, and we kind of screamed a little bit in her therapy office. And so then we stomped around, and we were like kicking, pretending like we were going to kick something, and we were stomping and just being like obnoxious and loud and aggressive and angry, and nobody wanted to be around us when we were like that. So that's part. And then I'll get to the central part now. Okay, so the last part, there's the passive part, which is no color. There's the aggressive part of me, which is red hot lava burning, and maybe some gray ash burning. And then there's the middle way, and I chose white for that. It's funny, when I was younger I didn't like white. I thought, ugh, everybody likes white. I don't like white. But now, the older I get, the more I love white, because white has all colors in it, and it reflects light, and it's refreshing, white. And so and it's nice and pure, and it's like a blank canvas, and it's just like, symbolic of blank canvas, clean slate, anything is possible, and it's bright, and it's got, potential for anything. It's flexible and bendable, and it's got this nice feeling to it. So I chose white, and so I took a white scarf, and then we walked around embodying that part of myself, which was, I would consider that, I'm not a religious person, but I'm spiritual, meaning I feel like what God is nature and the universe creating itself, and I feel like there's energy in the universe that is strong and neutral and always there, and it's, instead of the roller coaster, the up and down of life, birth and death, and happiness and sadness, and the roller coaster of life, male, female, happy, sad, the duality of everything. That's things constantly changing, things arise and pass away. And to me, God or spirit or whatever is beyond that, and that's beyond duality. And it would be like beyond yin and yang. So to me, God is like an embodiment of the whole universe creating itself, and it's kind of like my thoughts and feelings and ideas and my ego or whatever is just clouds in the sky, whereas God is the entire sky, the empty, open sky, and then the clouds blowing in the sky. So when I embodied that, the white middle way, the way I moved my body was I felt centered and grounded, and I felt neutral. I felt a kind of equanimous. I felt kind of like I could be happy or sad, and it could change, happy, sad, in between, and it didn't matter, because the part that I was in touch with, the God part or the spirit part, was just stable and never changing, and it was always stable. And that's the paradox, is that the God part is invisible and silent, and yet it's there. And what is in the universe, what is noisy and emotional and has a smell and a taste and a feeling, is just a bunch of stuff that's temporary. And so perhaps that's not as real as, see, physical matter seems real, but maybe what's really real is the invisible, silent, gap that creates everything. And to me, that's God. So that's the ultimate paradox of the universe, is that God is nothing and everything is nothing. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a big paradox. So it's kind of fascinating to me, the paradox of life. It's like, yeah, it's like silence and emptiness is God. So as I was saying, like silence and nothingness is everything, is maybe God or Great Spirit or nature, truth, reality, whatever you want to call it, solidness. And then maybe all the noise and physical matter is really nothingness, because it passes away and is not permanent. And what is permanent is the silent, empty void. But it's somehow comforting because it's neutral, it's equanimous. It's not, I don't believe God is like something that judges. I don't think God is male or female. I think God is everything. It's omnipresence. It's silence and noise. It's everything. And I can feel it in my cells. Like it might sound a little hokey, but I can just feel it. It's like quantum physics kind of a thing. I don't know, whatever. Math and music and science and art, left and right brain. I connect the dots in that kind of way. And also I realized too that my biggest problem obviously is my own self-hatred, like my own fear of myself, because my dad raised me to think that it was self-indulgent to be too into your creative process. And I witnessed my dad have stage fright and never go on stage with his music or comedy. And I witnessed him comparing himself to artists and famous artists that he admired, comedians, and Gordon Lightfoot and George Carlin and Richard Pryor and James Dean and just whatever, all kinds of talented people that he admires. And he compared himself to Bob Dylan and stuff like that. And it's like, all you can do is be yourself. You can't really be like these heroes of yours. And then he was, whatever, I don't want to analyze my dad, but let's just say that I absorbed, I still have to deprogram myself and know, what does Shannon think? I need to learn how to love myself, take better care of myself, give myself room and space to be my real self, to have better relationships with people, with other people, but first I need to have a better relationship with myself. And so I'm reading this book, The 4 Agreements, and the 4 agreements are, never take anything personally, be impeccable with your word, meaning be honest to yourself and true to yourself and other people as well. Like, ask for what you want, say yes and no. If you screw up, say I'm sorry, apologize if you screw up. Try to be as truthful as you can to yourself and others. And also, being impeccable with your word also means that if you make a mistake, you're not supposed to say, oh, I'm such a stupid idiot, I screwed up. It's better to say, okay, I can do better next time. I kind of messed up there. I love myself, I forgive myself, and now I'm going to try to do better and move on from where I am now, fully in the present moment, instead of beating yourself up for screwing up. So it's good to acknowledge when you screw up, but a waste of time to beat yourself up about it. It just makes things worse. So I'm reading this, and so be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. In other words, when somebody does something that makes you feel good or bad, it's not really about you as much as it's about their own idea and their own projection partly. And so it's best to ask the person what's going on and also not get carried away with being so affected by something positive or negative that someone else tells you. So stay equanimous to that. So don't take anything personally and don't make assumptions. So people go around being afraid of things or, making assumptions about other people, about what somebody thinks or doesn't think. So therefore, it's better to, instead of making assumptions, ask questions. Say, what did you mean by that? Or do you really mean that? Or do you mean this? Or please explain. Or can I have this? Or I don't want, say what you want. Let the other person say yes or no. And as well as talk to yourself in this way. Your own self-talk could be this way too. And then what is the other one? Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Do your best. Always do your best. Meaning, do your best. And even if sometimes your best is not very good, you say, well, I was feeling sick that day, or I was really angry that day, so my best was not so great, but I'm going to just do better next time. Or sometimes if you're feeling really bad, maybe you should just rest, and maybe doing your best is just to rest and not do much of anything. And then the next day you can actually do more, take more of the action. I'm also realizing too that your state of being is as important or more important as what you're doing, what you're acting upon, how you're being. If you're being in a state of stress but you're accomplishing a lot of goals, then it doesn't have as much meaning. And if you're being in a wonderful state of bliss but you're just sitting around listening to music, maybe that's more productive to be in a happy state and hang out than it is to accomplish a lot of goals if you're in a stressed out state. Although better yet, be in a positive frame of mind and put out positive energy and do your laundry or accomplish something wonderful, weed the garden, meet a new friend, make some art, whatever. But then sometimes
Still skin, crumple still skin, amazed at the orange mont, crumple still skin, stripe there, volt this, volty rinsing it off, undulate morph melded, zoom away, crumple still skin, crumple still skin, flipped me ball, lavender fuzz, that's too foxy, lavender buddy, lavender me, would you sequin shoes, and a slipper, wedding slipper, slip on painted spaceship top, organ leaf paw whisker on the spaceship flower with the gray on gray, barely spaceship buds, passion flower in the hour of waves, and the sunshade shadow drum is washed clean, mixed with water, banana slug with crumple still skin, crumple still skin, amazed at the orange mont, crumple still skin, stripe there, volt this, volty rinsing it off, undulate morph melded, zoom away, ride as the water trickles, and the droplet festival takes place for pop stars everywhere, with ladybug yellow and green drops, flower paints, and warped fireworks in the silence.